This week we're going to label the inputs in our Qt application and get the calculate button to show us a result. Welcome to another MetPy Monday. Hello, I'm John Lehman, a software engineer for Unidata. This week we're going to start making our Qt app look a little bit nicer and actually show us a result in the application. We're also going to fix the window sizing issue that we've been having, where it pops up so small that the output is really not that readable. So we'll do a little bit of cleanup on that this week. Next week we'll see some more advanced layouts, and then we're pretty much done with our app. We might be able to add some menus and some options, but this gives you a pretty good idea of what you can do with Qt and PySide 2. All right, so let's get started. We need a label to show what the different input boxes take, because right now we just have 3 input boxes. So I'm going to put a Q label in our imports. And then down here when we're making our widgets, let's make some new widgets. A pressure label, which is going to be a Q label that says pressure and hectopascals. A temperature label, also a Q label, says temperature deg C. A dew point label. You get the idea now. It's also a Q label, dew point and deg C. And then the result, I'm going to go ahead and label that as wet bulb temperature label. Wet bulb temperature deg C. All right, so now we've got our basic labels, but they're not going to show up in our application unless we add them to the layout. So we need to put them in our list of widgets here. I'm going to put the pressure label and then pressure. Go ahead and wrap this. Our temperature label, then temperature. Dew point label, then dew point. And finally, our wet bulb temperature label result and the calculate button. So now let's run our app and see what it looks like. Okay, so we've got labels over all of our fields. That's great. The layout might need a little bit of work if it's scaled a lot. But do notice when we get larger scaling, we get a more readable output, so that's good. But let's go with this for now. All right, so we need to figure out next how to hook up the calculation that we've got running. Remember, the signal from the button is hooked to the slot, that is the function that calculates our wet bulb temperature right here. So we used a lambda to be able to pass all of these parameters to our slot function, which is here. We need to pass something else to it now. We need to pass our output, which we call result. And then down here in our function, right now we're printing to the terminal, but we need to actually set the text that's in our result. And for that, we call our parameter, which I'm going to call out.display, the display method, and then our calculated value, which is wet bulb. .m, we need to drop the magnitude. If we don't, you'll see that PySide doesn't know how to handle a quantity object. It just knows how to handle integers and floats. And we need to make sure our function takes that parameter. So we're going to pass result in as the keyword parameter out, and then use it to set the display value down here. All right, so that's not terribly complicated. Let's go ahead and save and run our application again. Let's put in a pressure, a temperature, and a dew point, and hit calculate. You'll see we have a result showing here, but it's kind of hard to read until we get the box or the window just a little bit larger. That's not too bad. So let's go ahead and fix that. And for that, we're going to go back up into our dunder_init method when we're setting things like our window title. And we're going to call set fixed width. And this is going to fix the size of the app. We could make our app still resizable, just with a different starting size, but in this case, I want to fix the size of the application. It's a very simple app, and it doesn't really need to be resized. I don't want to deal with making sure the layout looks good at all these different sizes, maybe. So I'm going to set it to a width of 300, set fixed height at 350. Now if we run our application, we see that we've got a more readable result now, and this is not a bad window size. The last change I want to make is right now to do any testing, I have to enter a pressure, a temperature, and a dew point. I want some sensible values to be in there to start with, or at least values that are physically reasonable. So I'm going to set my starting value 1013.25 for pressure, 25 C for temperature, and let's say 15 C for dew point. So now when I run my application, I have some sensible defaults. I can press calculate and instantly get a result. Then I can do some things like up my temperature and see how that affects my wet bulb value, or come back down and say, well, what happens if my dew point increases? Okay, my wet bulb value goes up as well. So I hope that you found this useful, and we'll finish cleaning up this application next week and have a really nice little calculator tool. I'll see you on next week's MetPy Monday.